So let's go to number 5 now. And this is where it gets a little bit more complicated even than the previous example. So here we've got multiple conditional statements where we're linking the evidence pieces together to prove or justify the conclusion. So evidence is A requires B. Then we have a second evidence, C requires D. Conclusion is A requires D. So lots of conditionals here. And what we want to do is justify this last part, A requires D specifically. That's what our objective here. But the evidence pieces don't get the job done. But they're almost there. What we've got to do in this particular case is link the evidences together, and I've put it here, B requires C. So if we were to think about there being a new arrow connecting evidence number 1 to evidence number 2, then they would form a longer chain. A requires B, requires C, requires D. And then A requires D would be fully justified, no ambiguity. So here we've got to impose that new arrow. The answer itself is a new conditional statement. And of course, the contrapositive would also work as well. So if B requires C is enough to guarantee that conclusion, then the contrapositive, not C, requires not B, would also achieve that same objective. And I've got an example here for this one as well. So if we have evidence number 1, if you study hard, then you ace the LSAT, and a separate evidence statement, if you go to Harvard Law, then you'll have a successful career. And our goal is to justify the conclusion, if you study hard, then you'll have a successful career. Again, 2 evidence pieces that are separate, they're not linked in any way, but the conclusion has a variable from the first evidence and a variable from the second evidence. So what would be a sufficient assumption that guarantees this conclusion here, given the evidence?
If you ace the LSAT, you'll go to Harvard.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So you got it, James. And I see Solomon wrote it to me also. Ace the LSAT, then Harvard Law. That's exactly it. So that's a new conditional that links the end of the first evidence to the beginning of the second evidence. We're imposing a new conditional statement here that gets the job done. That's the key here, is that you have to be willing to open up to imposing new information. But when you do, it works. Now, of course, they might not give things to you this cleanly. They might have given you, for example, evidence might be not B requires not A. Evidence number 2 might still be C requires D. Either one, either formulation will work. You just have to manipulate it a little bit to get it this clean. And then as Solomon wrote, also not Harvard Law requires not acing the LSAT would also do the job. That would be the not C arrow, not B formulation of this. And by the way, on test day or even as you're practicing, I wouldn't actually use the letters A, B, C, D. I'm just doing that to give it to you in a more ideal type form. In practice, you want to use the actual letters related to the variables of what you're dealing with. So for study hard, I might write SH. For acing the LSAT, I might just write A for ace. For Harvard, I might write H. Successful career, SC. I would keep it specific to the topic rather than forming more layers of abstraction here. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.